comes to you processing pre and post snap, what's the different challenge between facing zone coverage and man-to-man coverage?
Yeah, I'd say, man-to-man coverage, as a quarterback, I think it's a little nicer just because you know where your answers are supposed to be. Zone coverage, it could be a little bit, more of a tricky, just area just because you got a progression. You got to move on from guys, and guys could be dropping underneath guys. Man, it's like, all right, one guy's covering this guy, and I have a chance when he breaks, and knowing that no one is going to undercut it or whatever. So that's the biggest difference. But, this team is good because, they'll show everyone coming, and then they bluff out, and it's like, man, I got to know what side of the field I have to be on and be right. Whereas any other game, it's almost like, you go through a whole progression. This game, it's like you got to be on the right side, So that's where we're at with it.
Do they play more zone than you would expect for a team that blitzes as much as they do?
Yeah, I feel like, their base defense for sure. But, man, do they love, playing in that realm of bringing pressure and then hoping, we get the quarterback or get guys to mess up and then, force the ball to be turned over. So I feel like that's more of what they like to do. But at the same time, we can't just go into a game saying they're going to do this, or that. They've had a week to prepare and switch things up, so you never know. So
last year you went to Kittle a lot. You had a lot of success going to Kittle. This year he hasn't gotten as much action. Is it more a product of what defenses are doing or the array of weapons that you guys have to choose from? Is there a reason that George is not as involved in your mind?
Man, I think, just the scheme of things, that's sort of just how we've drawn things up. That's how really the games have gone where, other guys have popped open and stuff, and George has had to help out, with protection. And, he's done such a good job of doing that role, being in protection, checking out on the flat and stuff like that. And then when his opportunities come, we take advantage of it. But, man, that's just sort of just how it's gone so far. We still have a whole, basically second half of the season coming up where it's like, man, George can definitely get involved. He can get involved at any point in the game. So that's just sort of how it's gone. It's not like we go into the game going, George, you're not going to get the ball. It's going to be this, and this guy. It's just, how it's gone, But obviously he's a threat. Everyone does like to scheme him up and try to stop George as best as possible. But it's how it's been.
It's been a year since you traded for Christian McCaffrey today. In what ways has he changed the team dynamic, made you feel even more confident, especially for your quarterback?
Yeah, it's been huge for us. Just having like a running back that can go out of the backfield and do all the things that a receiver can do. Run routes from the backfield, line up as a receiver in the slot and do stuff on the outside. He's a Swiss Army knife, man. He does everything for us that we ask, and he does it really well, and he's smart. So obviously it's really nice to have him since we got him and stuff, being able to, start to utilize the back out of the backfield and things like that. It's just another guy that the defense has to account for in the pass game. So that's huge. And then obviously when he runs the ball and his toughness and everything, it's on another level. So very thankful to have him.
When you went to Minnesota last year for the joint practices, Brock, you've come a long way since then. So what was your mindset going in there to prove to the coaches that you deserved a roster spot just to start with?
Yeah. Yeah, it was, still more of a camp mindset. Yes, we're competing against the Vikings and all that, but, man, I was just trying to do the little things right, make the right decisions, be consistent, trying to earn the coaches and my teammates' trust. That's where I was at with that. It was a good experience to go out there and play against some really good players on the Vikings. But, a year now later, it's like, all right, this is the regular season. This is a real football game, not just practices and whatnot. So, they got some good players. I remember, going against a couple of them in practice and whatnot, but this is different. So I think I'm at another point in obviously my career being a starter and all that, not camp mode kind of mindset. So that's where we're at. We're trying to win.
Straight, but before you became a starter last year, you would be in the offensive meetings and you would note like kind of the body language of guys who maybe didn't get much action in the previous game. And you noted that no one was acting ticked off or that suggests like, hey, why didn't I get the ball? I mean, is it, I guess hopefully I've got the story straight, but if so, was that just something you did naturally? Was it just something you were curious about, or can you just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I was just curious, as a rookie, I got all these guys in a room with, just some stardom, really. You know, George Kittle, Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and just these. You know, you go into a game and it's almost like, all right, George got, you know, a lot of receptions and touchdowns this game. You know, how's Debo going to act, or how's BA going to act? So I would just sort of be like, this is crazy, you know. It's fascinating to me. So I sort of just looked at guys, saw their body language, how they come into meetings, how they leave, and how they were acting at practice and all that kind of stuff. But like I said before, this team's on a mission, man. They don't, you know, BA gets so happy when Debo has a great game. Debo has such a great energy and attitude when BA goes crazy, and same with George and all the other guys and Christian. So like, man, it's a special group. Obviously, we're trying to do the whole thing, and you know, not just try to, you know, rack up fantasy points or anything like that. Like, guys are wanting the best for other guys and win. So that's what all we care about. So
Brock, after the game the other night, you were talking about how when you had some guys out, that it was up to you to get people in the right place and sort of take charge of the situation. And Debo was out, and the guys that you were missing. Now that they've been out for practice all weekend, you've had these guys practicing in these spots. Do you expect things to go smooth?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, on their part, you know, those guys will be ready. You know, just with the reps that they've gotten, going in with the operational stuff, yeah, simple as that. They'll be ready. And even if, you know, Debo and Christian are going and stuff, you know, great for us. It'll be awesome. But if they're not, all the other guys have been preparing great. You know, JP, Ray, Ronnie Bell, all those guys, they look great. So we'll be ready to roll for whatever comes.
In week 3 with the Giants, you saw plenty of blitzes from that team. This team even more so. What's your kind of impressions of maybe some of the stuff that they run and the way that they can challenge you?
Yeah, you know, obviously they love to, you know, bring the whole house and all the zero looks that they got, and then being able to bluff out of that and stuff. So they do a really good job with it. You know, on film it may look like, oh man, there's some space and stuff, but you know, they do a good job with it, you know, bracketing stuff and you sort of just anticipating what teams are going to try to do. And so they're really well coached. They do it well, and then I think all their players are really smart and they know what they're trying to do within the scheme. So for us, it's like, man, we got to be ready for obviously having answers with zero and pressure and stuff, but you know, at the same time, like, we just got to be smart. For myself, I got to be smart with the ball. You know, that's what they're trying to do, is pressure the quarterback, get the quarterback to make, you know, some mistakes and stuff. So and they've done that within, you know, the games that they've played in. They've done that to a lot of the quarterbacks, getting them to, you know, some strip sacks and all that kind of stuff. So it's a good challenge.
How similar to what Miami, that you saw from Miami last year? How similar is what Minnesota's doing?
Yeah, similar scheme for sure. It's a slightly different, but, you know, comes from, you know, the Flores, you know, thought process and stuff. And so we just, last year going into that game, it's like, all right, got to be ready for zero, but, you know, they probably won't do it as much. And then once I got thrown in, they did it a lot. So I think it was a good experience for myself and then for all the other guys to be ready for those kinds of looks and looking for the ball quick and getting the ball out of my hands. But at the same time, you know, this is all a different game. You know, different players and stuff that we're going against. And like I said, these players, like, they know the system and they look comfortable in it. And so they're smart. And so not to say Miami wasn't. Miami was, but it's a little different, just different players.
What's this week been like for you as far as how much that loss lingers, how much you just turn the page and move forward, and just your whatever excitement level as far as just getting back out there?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it sucks initially for the first couple of days, especially when we had an extra day off. It's like you could feel the guys in the locker room wanted to go and practice and get ready to move on. And so our first day of practice yesterday, guys were moving. It's like, man, it feels good. Let's go. Let's move on. Get ready for this next game. So it felt good in that regard. It's not like college where, you know, you lose a game, and, you know, every game in college is so huge and crucial, and it is in the NFL, but like one game can determine, you know, your season in college, it feels like. With this, it's like, all right, we lost, but, man, we have a lot to look forward to. We got to move on quickly. You know, we got a good team ahead of us, so spirit's been good, and we just got to keep it going.